Laundry sucks, but your laundry room doesn't have to. Keep watching. I'm going to show you how I made over this laundry room for less than $500. This laundry room has been stuck in builder basic mode for about 10 or 12 years ever since it was built, and I get it. Some people don't want to spend money on a laundry room, but it is a place where you can have a little more fun with color and design. So I asked my parents if I could do it for them, and they said yes. I could not wait to see how this color we picked for the cabinet was going to look in this room, so I started with that first. And this is a decent quality cabinet, and it's very nice, but sometimes after years and years, a change is good. So I started by removing the hardware and giving it a good clean. And then this top fake drawer, they usually just pop out pretty easily. This one was a little more challenging, but it's just held on by some clips that are screwed into the cabinet, so it was a little tough with the sink in the way there, but eventually muscled it out. As I use on most of my projects, I'm using Heirloom Traditions all-in-one paint. It has the primer and a top coat built in one, and it just gives a really nice smooth finish that's not matte, but just a step above, so makes it nice and easy to clean. So I use their surface prep. It comes in a liquid that you can use on larger projects, or on something like this, it's really handy to have these wipes. Some people leave their doors on for painting, but I prefer to remove them just to make sure I get that inside edge where it's attached nice and smooth. Don't miss any spots or have any drips or anything like that. Plus this one was right up close to the wall on the left side, so it definitely was easier to go ahead and remove these. There are a few ways that you can go about painting a cabinet like this. This is just my preferred way. I like to use a good angled synthetic brush to do around the edges or on the doors, around the hinges if I don't remove the hinges. And then for a first coat, I sometimes use a sponge like this just because it's really quick and it doesn't have to look good at all, because you're always going to need more than one coat. So that's what I did here. And then on the doors, I still used that same angled brush to get into these grooves, just because I feel like I can control where the paint goes a little bit better than with the round brush. But then I do use Heirloom's round brush that they sell as well. And I use these same two brushes on the long shelf on the wall as well. So we're going to be putting up some tile for a backsplash here, and I'm going to use this Mussel Bound double-sided adhesive mat that I've used before in my kitchen. It's especially great for small jobs, so you don't have to buy a bunch of the mud and make a big mess getting the tile up, and you can do it ahead of time. So you just cut it, and it's basically just like a big double-sided sticker. And then this is the tile she chose, which I think is going to look awesome with the paint color and the wallpaper. Just measure out the length that you need, and then you can just cut it with regular scissors, or if you have an X-Acto knife, that works too. Doesn't really matter what this looks like, of course, because it's all going to get covered up. So if you don't get it on quite straight, don't worry, you can use scraps to fill in any gaps that you have. When you're ready to start putting your tile on, just peel off that backing, and it is very, very sticky, I will say. So if you're when you're first putting your tile up there and trying to line it up, don't press it down really hard to begin with, because you will have a heck of a time trying to pull it back off and straighten it. So you just have to be really careful that you get everything nice and level the first time if you can. The trickiest part, I think, of any tiling job is the cutting of the tile and just the measurements, making sure you get everything perfect the way you want it. So I leave the tile saw to my dad because I'm just too chicken to use it. But if you are a beginner, I also would recommend you using square or rectangle tiles if you like that, because cutting these smaller, different shaped tiles are definitely much more challenging when it comes to the edges. He used the saw to cut the bottom and the left edge here, but once we got up to the top, you could see where we left the whole tiles that have the pointy top, but then we had to fill in each little section that was pointing down. So in that case, a manual tile cutter does come in handy because it's much easier to cut those little top edges off with that than a saw where you have to get your fingers really close to the blade. As I said, this mat is really sticky, so if you didn't have time or didn't want to do the grout the same day, you could definitely leave it there until you're ready. But this is my favorite part. It's messy, but it's fun. Kind of makes you feel like a kid playing with finger painting or something, but it really helps you start to see how it's going to look when it's finished. So it does dry lighter usually than when it's wet, so don't panic if it looks too dark at first. You can get grout that is already mixed up and ready to use, but usually you can only find that in the basic colors. And so this, they chose this kind of a green-gray color, and so it was in powder form. So we just had to mix it with water and make sure to get it the right consistency. These straight edge pieces also only come in basic colors, at least in the stores. I'm sure you could find different colors online, but it might be hard to match the color that you want. So I decided, since Heirloom Traditions paint can really paint any surface, including tile, that I would use the cabinet color to help this edge tile blend in a little better. So I use those same surface prep wipes. Even though they're pretty clean, the surface prep also etches the surface slightly so it's not so slick and the paint will stick a little bit better to it. Your first coat still is, again, going to look horrible. Don't worry about that. So I just use this little foam brush to paint these tiles. On to the peel and stick wallpaper. This is a eucalyptus pattern that Mom picked out. She chose a couple of different ones, ordered some samples and stuck them on the wall, and this is the one that we went with. So our whole design really was based off of the colors in this wallpaper. I've used a lot of different peel and stick wallpapers at this point, almost all of them from Amazon, but this was my first time doing it on a wall with a lot of texture, so it was a little more challenging to get some of the bubbles out, but it wasn't bad at all, and it's worked just fine. This room doesn't have any windows, so we wanted to go with a light color. This is, again, a color we pulled out of the wallpaper, so we just took a sample to the store and had them match it. And it was just a very light, clean, fresh blue. Because it was so light, I probably could have gotten away with one coat for once, but there were a few spots here and there, so I just went ahead and did a second coat. And then once that was dry, it was time to hang some things on the wall. I could see just a few brush marks on this drawer front, so I just did a light sanding by hand and then did another coat over top of it, and then I used the brush and roll method this time. So you just brush on a good amount of paint and then use a dry roller with a very light hand to smooth it out. And you might see some air bubbles when you do that, but just lightly roll over it again, maybe leave it for a minute or two if they're still there, and they should either pop on their own or you can roll over it one more time and they should disappear. It's very easy on edges and corners to get drips, so just once you think you're done, go around and check, double check, triple check all the edges and corners and make sure you've gotten all those drips off. It's a lot easier to do that than to have to go back and sand them down and then touch up again. This sink is used as a dog washing station, so I wanted to find a shelf of some sort that could hold some of the shampoos and things, because there's very little counter space around this sink, and I just happened to find this at an antique store, and it was already a perfect shade of green to fit in. So I just used a little leftover wallpaper to put on the shelves just in case they do get a little wet, because it already had a little bit of rust. So just clean that off and attach the wallpaper and then attach it to the side of the cabinet. I was originally wanting to put it over the sink, but once we got that tile done, none of us wanted to cover it up or to drill into it, so decided to put it here instead. I had enough leftover scraps of wallpaper to do the inside of these cabinet doors, so figured why not. For the hardware, I actually had these leftover brushed gold hexagon handles that I used in my kitchen makeover, and since we had the hexagon tile, it was perfect. It's always good when you can repeat a pattern 2 or 3 times in a room, because it just helps it feel cohesive. My kitchen makeover was also very budget friendly, so be sure and check out that video here on my channel as well for some great tips. It's always a good idea to use some sort of template for your hardware. You can just make one yourself out of cardboard if you want, or you can use something like this. It has a lot of different spacing options, and it comes with a little tool to punch a little tiny hole into the one that you need, so you could see where you need to drill. The final step, and one of my favorites, is staging. So I mostly use things that I found around their house. I did purchase a lot of the baskets, actually at 2 different dollar stores, which was a huge savings. And then places like Marshall's, TJ Maxx, anything like that. I did get a couple of other things, but that's about it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to see the price breakdown and list of products that I use, check out the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.